Morning, folks. We're going to give it a few minutes before we get started to allow more attendees to jump on. All right, I think we can get started. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Shalafo. I'm the manager of the Post Interconnection Support Team. Can you all hear me? Awesome, thanks. The team and I want to welcome you to our first Post Interconnection Stakeholder meeting. Today we'll be discussing most of the post interconnection activities for which our team is responsible. Although the information provided may not cover every aspect, it will mainly be presented by members of the post interconnection team, all of whom are regarded as subject matter experts in their specific role. I'd like to remind you to utilize the link provided for any questions that you may have arising from today's presentation. For today's session, we won't be addressing questions live as we intend to cover a substantial amount of content. All questions submitted will be answered via email following the presentation as promptly as possible. Additionally, I'd like to draw your attention to our presentation disclaimer. As stated, information shared today has been prepared solely to aid in our discussion, may not be applicable in all situations, and is subject to change. Today's session will be recorded and made available on our stakeholder meeting website. And I'd like to kick off our presentation with Evan providing us our safety message.
Thank you, Jen. My name's Evan Penny. I'm a specialist within the CEI team, and following National Grid tradition, I'm going to start today's meeting off with a safety message. So while it still might feel like summer outside, fall weather is fast approaching. This means there's some additional fall driving safety concerns we should focus on. One of the most clear ones is leaves. So while leaves might not seem like a big deal, they can be actually as slippery as ice, especially while wet. So make sure to keep a lot of distance between you and the car in front of you so you have plenty of room to brake. The next one is school buses. Fall also means the time when most children go back to school. With this in mind, it's important to make sure to follow all road-related laws related to school buses. Also, be on the watch out for kids that might run out of school buses unsupervised in the middle of the road. Finally, fog. Fall is actually can be the time of year where it has the most fog. So it's important while it's foggy to drive slow so you can increase your reaction time and brake if you need to, if you can't see the car in front of you. That concludes the safety message. I'm going to now hand the presentation over to Jalila, who will cover our next segment.
Thank you, Evan. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jalila, and I am the lead specialist program and regulatory support for this team. And the upcoming slides, we're going to review recent program and incentives changes, reclassifications to net metering, single parcel rule, and also provide you with an overview of Mass Smart. All right, so to start, as it relates to recent program and incentive changes topic, so this slide shows the key milestones in Massachusetts' evolving climate and energy regulatory landscape as it relates to the DPU rulemakings. So specifically, the year 2021 and 2022 was marked as the foundation for climate action in Massachusetts. It expanded the framework for cap-exempt facilities serving on-site load and statutory exceptions for net metering. In 2023, DPU 21100 initiated rulemaking to update net metering regulations and define SIFSOLs by expanding eligibility for nameplate cap-exempt facilities to up to 25 kW. In 2024, DPU 2320 opened a proceeding to implement 5 statutory exceptions, allowing more than 1 metering facilities on a single parcel, and introduce a self-certification process for host customers and establish application guidelines and fees. DPU Order 23140 will be discussed in more details in the upcoming slides, but we have a link for you here to the DPU file room to search for the relevant dockets. So with that, I'm passing on to Alex to talk more in details about reclassification to net metering. Alex?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex, and I'm a regulatory specialist for Massachusetts CEI program support. I'm first going to talk about cap-allocated net metering projects. For any new project currently looking to enroll in net metering, this is likely going to qualify for new solar. For existing projects that receive their cap allocation before September 26, or who applied for their cap allocation before September 26, 2016, or received it after January 8th, 2017, would be under the non-new solar classification. But for the bulk of those facilities that are under the new solar, this is a cap allocated designation, and you would apply for your cap allocation with Mass ACA. The credit value is 60% of the standard, which we call market. And these facilities are able to transfer these credits to any account in any load zone or distribution company. But if you are a non-new solar facility, so one of those older facilities, it is still cap allocated, but you receive the full standard credit value. And down at the bottom, you can see a note that breaks down the credit value, which is the sum of the following rates: distribution, transmission, transition, and fixed basic service. And that link down there will lead you to more rates as well. And these facilities are only able to transfer net metering credits within the same load zone and distribution company. Another important note there at the bottom is that government or municipal-owned facilities will receive the standard net metering credit value for all facility types and are only able to allocate credits to other government and municipal accounts. And then now talking about the cap-exempt facilities, these were largely born from the recent DPU orders. The first is a nameplate cap-exempt. These are for facilities that are under 25 kilowatts. They do not require cap allocation and will receive the standard net metering credit value. These facilities are only able to allocate their credits within the same load zone or the same distribution company. The other type of facility that was created through these orders is a cap-exempt facility serving on-site load, or a SEFSOL. There are 3 classes to this, and again, they do not require a cap allocation. These will receive the market credit value, or the 60% of standard, and they are eligible to also allocate their credits to any utility account, any load zone or distribution company. There are a few provisions for this to qualify as a CEPSOL. You need to have an interconnection service agreement dated 1/1/21 or later. You must serve on-site load or be behind the meter, and you cannot be a government or municipal-owned facility. The last type of facility here is a qualifying facility. These are facilities that do not take service under the net metering tariff, and they receive a credit value that is equivalent to the monthly average wholesale ISO New England clearing price. And lastly, these facilities are unable to transfer these credits or allocate them out. And I'm now going to pass it off to Mario to talk more about the net metering reclassifications.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mario, and I primarily assist with post-interconnection inquiries and requests for our residential and small commercial customers. First, I will be covering reclassification to standard net metering, starting off with the eligibility criteria. The first criteria is the project size, which needs to be less than or equal to 25 kilowatt AC. The second is compliance with the single parcel rule. Please refer to Mass DPUs 23140C and for the single parcel rule 2320A and 2320B. The third criteria checked is if the project has a battery storage component. If it does, then it needs to be in compliance with the DPU permissible configurations, which we will cover in the next slide. As part of the reclassification process, accounts that were receiving market net metering credits have been automatically reclassified to standard net metering. Qualifying facilities receiving credits at ISO New England's clearance prices will need to submit a request for reclassification via our Contact Us form. Once the account is verified as eligible, as per the criteria in the previous slide, an email will be sent to the submitter requesting for a current dated Schedule C to proceed with the reclassification. For interconnected projects that are enrolled in MassSmart with a system size not greater than 25 kilowatts, the same eligibility criteria checks are completed, and if it is identified that a new final statement of qualification is needed from ClearResult, National Grid will facilitate this with no additional documentation required from the customer. Touching up again on projects with battery energy storage systems, please refer to the permissible DPU net metering configuration matrix. You'll see there's only one configuration that would make a project ineligible for reclassification, and that is if the battery is programmed to charge from the grid and capable of exporting to the grid. The single parcel rule defines a net metering facility as the energy generating equipment associated with a single parcel of land interconnected with the electric distribution system at a single point behind a single meter. An important note is that the DPU relies on the Registry of Deeds to determine the parcel boundaries and not any GIS documentation. Statutory exceptions are now managed by the Massachusetts System of Assurance of Net Metering Eligibility, or shortly MASACA. The rooftop cap exempt blanket exception has been discontinued as per the department's order in 2320. The multiple technologies blanket exception is still active, and participants can still apply for a net metering multiple technologies through the link. The customer is responsible to provide National Grid with the final approval received from MassACA via the Contact Us form. Now handing this over back to Jarida to cover more on net metering changes.
Thank you, Mario. So continuing with the recent program and incentive changes topic. This slide outlines the evolution of net metering policy in Massachusetts and highlights recent regulatory updates that impact how credits are managed and applied. To start, the Climate Act of 2021 laid the foundation for many of the clean energy reforms we're seeing today, including updates to net metering. Specifically, 2020 CMR 18 marked the beginning of formal regulatory changes to modernize the net metering framework. On February 15, 2024, NDPU 21100A order finalized several key updates to both the net metering tariff and the distributed generation interconnection tariff. There are three key changes I'd like to highlight here. First, cash out options for unused credits. Host customers of cap-exempt Class 2 or 3 facilities can now opt to cash out and use net metering credits at the avoided cost rate. By May 15 each year, we provide a report detailing unallocated credits and the payout calculation. By June 1st, host customers must notify us if they want to receive a payout or carry credits forward. Second, we now provide greater flexibility for multi-site customers and developers. Credits can now be transferred across service territories and load zones for systems over 25 kW with an ISA dated after January 1st, 2021. Lastly, we are now allowing for more responsive credit allocation. Schedule Z can be updated to up to 4 times per calendar year. The aim is to have a flexible approach to net metering and better alignment with clean energy goals. So this timeline outlines the key milestones in the development and rollout of Smart 3.0 Solar Incentive Program in Massachusetts. To start, stakeholder sessions were held to gather input and feedback on the SRO proposal on June 10, 2024. About a year later, the DOER filed an emergency regulation for Smart 3.0, followed by hearings and written comments to allow for public input and transparency in the rulemaking process. On August 29, 2025, DOER announced rates and capacity for program year 2025, setting the stage for future planning. Smart 3.0 is expected to officially open on October 15, ending on December 31st of 2025 for program year 2025. Program year 2026 will officially be open on January 1st, 2026. And with that, I'll pass it on to our next speaker, Mario.
Thank you, Jalila. To cover some basic similarities and differences between net meters and generation meters, both meters have a bidirectional capability. It is the net meter, though, that spins backward when generation is greater and forward than the load, and forward when the load is greater than the generation. And it is net meters that are used for billing and metering of all facilities. Generation meters, on the other hand, should spin only backwards. If a generation meter spins forward, it is indicative of wrong wiring behind the meter. Generation meters are required for all projects enrolled in MassSmart. Both net and generation meters are utility grade and DPU approved. No external or customer-owned meters can be used for billing or incentive payment purposes. Wrong or reverse wiring behind the meter can cause billing issues such as amplified usage. For projects enrolled in MassSmart, if the generation meter is removed, the generation will not flow to the net meter and will not offset usage. And now I'd like to pass this over to our advanced metering infrastructure team to speak more about the new AMI meters.
Hi, good morning. My name is Maura McLaughlin, and I'm the Director of Customer and Business Readiness for the AMI deployment for National Grid. And on the phone, I also have my colleague, Jesse Harvey, who's the Director of the deployment for Massachusetts. Thanks for having us this morning. I know that questions are going to be moderated through the form, so we look forward to following up with any information that we can provide to you after this. Today, we're just going to take you through a brief overview of AMI, the technology, what our deployment strategy is, and then a little bit about the benefits for solar customers and some of the service offerings that our AMI customers are going to see as a result of the deployment. So without further ado, many of you here today may know this project just simply as smart meters, but really internally we're calling it AMI or advanced metering infrastructure. And that's because in addition to the meter itself, we're installing an entire communications network behind that that's allowing for a complex flow of information between the meters and our systems. It's more than just a meter. It's going to fundamentally change the way that we do business internally. It's going to have impacts, from billing to outage management to how we interact with customers about their energy usage and the service offerings that we're able to provide. And it's going to give us an unprecedented amount of information about customer usage patterns, and that's going to help us to build a stronger and more reliable grid for our customers in the future. So if we want to go to the next slide, yep, we are on technology now. So just getting into the technology itself, we're building out what's called a mesh network. This is a communications infrastructure that allows for multiple pathways for the data to reach our systems. So the meters themselves are going to send data to our field area network devices, and you'll see some examples of what that looks like on the right side of the page here. These are essentially massive routers, similar to what you would see in your home Wi-Fi network router. And they help to capture the information that's coming from the meters and transmit it back to us. And you'll see these installed up on the utility poles in the areas where we're rolling out the deployment. But the system is unique here because in addition to the field area network devices transmitting the data, the meters can also speak to themselves. So information can jump from meter to meter, and this becomes really important in situations where we may have a storm and one of the fan devices come down, or one of them isn't working, properly. The meters themselves are able to communicate that data back to our backend systems. And so this slide just kind of demonstrates that on a page, just how the communications network can work with each other. So pretty complicated system, and we have the deployment running across Massachusetts and New York right now. So if we want to flip to the next page, then the next slide, really the way that we're talking about AMI internally is that it's going to make us smarter, stronger, and cleaner. Smarter because we're going to be providing customers with 15-minute interval data on their usage. And we have a slide later that's going to depict how that's going to work for solar customers. But we're going to be using that data to also help us innovate and plan for grid modernization efforts, which we hope is going to make the system stronger. So that then leads on to the stronger in terms of our grid modernization. We'll be able to respond to power outages quicker. And the meters are able to send out what we call a last gasp when they lose power. That's going to inform us of the outage, and it's even going to provide us information as to why it's out in some cases. So highly advanced meters are going to help us serve customers better. And then cleaner, the last project component here is that we have our own internal clean energy goals as a utility company, and we're trying to stress clean energy adoption across our customer base. And so we're hoping that the information that these meters will provide will help customers to make more energy efficient choices, which will ultimately help them save on their bills and use less energy. So that's sort of the general background to the AMI project and why it's important to National Grid. I'm going to turn it over to Jesse, who's going to talk a little bit about the deployment and some of the benefits of AMI meters for solar customers that we may be able to see in the future. And Jesse is himself a solar customer, so he has some unique insights here. And I know he's very excited for what AMI is going to bring to our solar customers. So I will hand it over to Jesse.
Thanks, Maura, and good morning, everyone. So the deployment is going very well, and it's going very fast. So I thought I would just give a little bit of an overview of where we're going to be over the next sort of 2.5 years. If you look in the yellow boxes, that's where we're actively deploying now. We are trying to go town by town and sort of saturate an entire town at a time. Billing cycles and other factors sort of make us bounce across towns a little bit, but generally we're trying to saturate towns. And so with that, neighbors and communities are all sort of aware of what's coming and can start leveraging the benefits of AMI sooner. So to build out our smart grid, right, our smart meter network, we have to put up what we call gateways and mesh extenders. So our field area network. So we currently have over 1,200 of those devices on poles around central and eastern Massachusetts. We will be completing all of those fan installations hopefully by the middle of next calendar year. This slide, we're moving so fast, this slide's already a little bit out of date because we've just surpassed 200,000 meters. We're installing about 3,000 meters a day, so significant pace bringing smart meters to our customers. We will finish this program by December of 2027. That's what we're forecasted to do, budgeted to do, and the expectations with our DPU regulators to complete by. So we're on pace to hit that and feeling pretty good. We can go to the next slide. Oh, and before I jump into this one other factor I think is really important is we have a robust communications plan. So we're not surprising or shouldn't be surprising anybody by this. Before we enter our community, we're communicating with the town leadership we're doing broad-based communications, whether it's social media ads or it's billboards or it's mailings. And then 60 days out, they get some more specific information mailed to them or sent digitally to them, depending on their preference. 30 days, they get a little bit more details. And then about 2 weeks out, they'll get a notice saying, hey, we're going to be in the area. So customers should know we're coming. We have a high customer satisfaction rate with the experience so far. When we do exchange those meters, it's 30 seconds to a minute of an outage. And so it's not very disruptive, but we are offering, to come back or set up appointments when necessary if somebody's working from home and or there's other factors that mean we can't have a temporary outage. So, but how will AMI benefit solar customers, right? So as a solar customer myself, I get my National Grid bill, which just gives me a snapshot of what I had used for the previous month, right? It doesn't give me any sort of breakdown. When I go to my solar app, I can see on a daily basis what I'm generating and how productive my solar panels are. But I never get that sort of integrated view and have an understanding of like timing and what's going on. So we'll see it on the next screen, but you will get that integrated view now where you can just go into the web portal for National Grid and you'll be able to see your usage on a 15-minute interval basis. So every 15 minutes, you'll be able to see the last 15 minutes of your usage. And you can break that out to larger increments and timeframes, but it can go down all the way to 15. And so you'll see in near real time when you're generating and what the impact is on your bill and your usage and one sort of integrated view. So I think that's a very positive step forward. Net metering and billing accuracy, these meters are state of the art. In the past, you would put solar on your house, you'd have your net meter exchanged, and then you have to wait for the net meters. I think it was within 10 days, but it's pretty quick. Now every smart meter is a net meter. And so as we move forward and more people adopt solar, the meter that they have on their premise will serve as that net meter. Again, they'll have access to real-time data. We will have more information from a National Grid perspective in terms of ongoing usage and have a less estimated reads. And so billing accuracy should be significantly improved. It does allow for time of use rates. So I preface this always with, we'll still need some regulatory approval on a time of use rate, but we'll have the technology that will enable the move towards a time of use rate. I think solar customers in particular are very keen to take advantage of a time of use rate, right? Daytime, they're generating their own power. They use it, they can push off into the evening or at night other things and benefit as a result of that. So I think not only solar customers, every customer will benefit from that. And so I think that's just a matter of time to go through the regulatory process, but we'll have that enabled. Integration with smart homes and automated optimization. So we are using what we call AMI 2.0 meters. So the original AMI meters, they would collect data, send it back, and it would process back in the office on the servers there. Now with AMI 2.0, each meter is essentially a computer that can do processing at the grid edge. And with that comes a whole bunch of other opportunities. And so one of those, for example, is a partnership we're doing with a company called Sense. There will be others. And as long as your meter can connect to your home area network, there'll be opportunities for smart appliance integration, right? So right now, that's a future ambition, right? But the technology is being put in place where you can put this in with smart, integrate with smart thermostats and other smart equipment. So it's an exciting opportunity there as well. So grid resilience and renewable energy, we should have a better understanding of how our grid is operating, where we may need to take action before we have an issue or an outage, and also be able to respond quicker when we do have an outage, all based off of additional AMI data that's coming through across the network. And we will certainly have better opportunities for renewable energy integration. Just everything from understanding what the needs are on the system, How do we manage the peaks differently? When do we have excess capacity? When do we not? Right? It's just much, even from individual customers, there's a lot of near real time information that they'll benefit from, but as an operator, we will have significant more information about what's happening on our grid. So again, amazing opportunities to leverage this data and manage these things in a whole new and better way.
Thanks, Jesse. And if we just want to move to the next slide, Kosi couldn't join us today, so we can just cover off on this last one quickly. As Jesse was referencing earlier in his presentation, this is the view that our solar customers will have once their AMI smart meter is installed. It's going to give access to 15-minute interval data. And what you're seeing here are the blue lines, which is the energy usage, and the green lines, which are the energy credits. So customers are going to be able to go onto their My Account portal and see this in real time every 15 minutes. So it's a huge value add. Just, again, giving customers that insight into data that they didn't have before about their usage. And so, we look forward to rolling this out and hearing from our solar customers about what they think of it. That concludes our presentation today. And like we said, happy to answer any questions that come through. And thanks for having us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Maura. So our next segment is billing. We're going to be covering ISO registration and billing impact for complex projects, Mass Smart overview, billing explanation, and community solar. And with that, I'll pass it on to Christine.
Hey everyone, my name's Christine. I am a senior analyst on program support. I'll be talking about the registration review process with ISO New England, and this applies for projects over 60 kW, and the documents that are needed in order to be compensated for your system's PV generation. So after construction has been completed, witness test has passed, all the completion documents have been collected, and the meter has been installed in the field, there's one final step. National Grid will need to determine if the project needs to be registered with ISO. If it does, we cannot issue ATI until the registration has been completed, which typically takes 5 business days to be processed and approved. The reason for the registration and review process is to ensure that these larger DG facilities do not negatively affect the power grid. So the projects that are required to be registered with ISO are above 60 kW, QF behind the meter, and QF standalones, and then also above 60 kW net meter and standalones. This is regardless if you plan to participate in SMART or not. For us to set up these incentives, we will need additional documentation that should have already been sent to your assigned job owners during the completion doc stage. The documents that are needed for the qualifying facility behind the meter and standalones are a Schedule A, which is an agreement for the system to be compensated at the ISO wholesale hourly rate, a W-9, which we only accept the 2024 version, which is on the IRS website, also a non-standard payment form. And this is the form that has all your banking information on it. And it lets us know if you prefer to have your payment sent via direct deposit or mail checks. And then we also need a bank letter. And this is to verify the account information that has been provided on the non-standard payment form to assure the account numbers match and there's no discrepancies. Once we have registered your project with ISO and have collected the QF docs, we can issue ATI, and it will be the start of your QF payments. You can begin to see these payments issued around the 15th of each month. So if you received ATI today on 9/19, you wouldn't receive your first QF payment until October 15th. Although you will not see these QF payments on your monthly invoices, since they're most commonly paid outside of our billing system, we do send out an electronic receipt to the email address that is on the W-9 form. This receipt reflects the calculations of the payment by taking the ISO hourly rate times the hourly kWh that you exported for the month. The second system or net meter and standalone, for the documents that we need for that, it's more straightforward. We just need a Schedule Z. You'll see the net metering credits that you have accumulated on the next month's invoice. For the projects that do not require to be registered with ISO are any solar project that is below 60 kW, a net metered behind the meter system that's above 60 kW, and projects that are actively participating in a demand response program. All this information can be found on our website, and all the documents listed on this slide can be exported from our site. Please note that because ATI was issued, it does not mean you will begin to receive your smart payments. Smart payments only begin once you have received your final SOQ that has been issued by ClearResult. Any questions about your pending smart application status, please reach out to ClearResult. I will now hand this off to our next presenter, Evan, who will talk about the Mass Smart program and payments.
Thank you, Christine. While Christine touched on the Mass Smart payments, I'm going to review the Mass Smart program as a whole. So Mass Smart essentially is an incentive program for solar production that we at the utility companies sponsor and that the DPU and the DOER supervise. This means at National Grid, we have to follow all the regulations set by the DPU. It also means at National Grid, we're responsible for managing Mass Smart documents our customers send us, as well as answering questions our customers have about the program. Finally, it's important to note that most Mass Smart customers have two meters, a generation meter and a net meter, a picture of which you can see to the left of this slide. The generation meter will only roll backwards and is used to determine the Mass Smart incentive payment. The net meter is a meter that mostly all solar customers will have. It will run forwards and backwards and will calculate the customer's monthly bill. Like all meters, these meters are installed and owned by like all meters we install, these meters are owned and maintained by National Grid. Next slide, please. Thank you. So let's talk about a little bit about the Mass Smart incentive payments. So the Mass Smart incentive payments are a direct payment to the owner of the system or whoever the system owner designates as the payee. This may not necessarily be the person who owns the property or whose name is on the electric account. For instance, if there's a solar developer who leases the system to the homeowner, they would be considered the owner of the system. Payments can only be made through paper checks or direct deposits. They can't be made through things like gift cards or credits to the system owner's electric account. The system owner is also responsible for filling out and sending us all Mass Smart related documents, including payment documents. Because the system owner receives direct payments, if they receive payments of over $600 per year, they receive a 1099 form. This is in line with IRS rules. It's important to note that the system owner is responsible for the taxes, even if they are not designated as, if they don't designate themselves as the payee. Next slide, please. Finally, I'd like to touch on some important documents related to the Mass Smart program. Since Mass Smart is considered income by the IRS, we require W-9 forms from all Mass Smart participants. These forms, W-9s, are required by both businesses and individual system owners. Next is the payment credit transfer form. So if a new system owner takes over a system from the previous system owner, we require the new system owner to fill out a payment credit transfer form. It's important to note that the Mass Smart contracts follows whoever owns the solar panel system, not the person who first fills out an application for Mass Smart. Finally, direct deposit. If a customer would like to be paid through direct deposit, we require they fill out an ACH form as well as provide us a voided check or a letter from the bank confirming it is indeed their bank account. Thanks for taking a few minutes to listen about the MassSmart program. I'm going to now hand things over to Krista, who's going to talk about billing.
Thank you, Evan. In the upcoming slides, we've provided some examples of different Massachusetts customer bills that we'll walk through to highlight some of the key areas. Here we have a simple example of a standard net metering bill. The arrows indicate where you can locate the net excess generation, the standard net metering credit calculation, and the standard net metering credit. For this customer, they exported 277 kilowatts and they received standard net metering credits for their net excess generation, with the rate varying month to month. The standard net metering credit consists of the distribution, transmission, transition, and fixed basic service charges. The transfer of the net metering credits will be reflected on the following month's bill. This is because our billing system processes the bill and creates the invoice on the same day. You will always pay a customer charge regardless of whether you export or not, and this charge will decrease your credit balance. Even though the customer generates more than they used, if their net metering credit does not exceed the customer charge, then it will result in a balance due. Next, we will look at an example of a market net metering bill. The arrow indicates that the customer exported 384 kilowatts, so they will receive market net metering credits. These credits are calculated at 60% of their excess generation using a rate that varies month to month. The market net metering credit consists of the distribution, transmission, transition, and fixed basic service charges. Again, you will always pay a customer charge whether or not you export. Our next example shows a simple qualifying facility bill. Here you will see the ISO clearing price listed instead of the net metering credit. On this residential qualifying facility bill, the customer exported 105 kilowatts. The credits for the net excess generation are calculated using the average of the previous month's short-run energy rate, which is determined by ISO New England on a month-to-month basis. Our next example is of a MA Smart net metering bill. This customer participates in MA Smart as a net metered customer. Their net metering credits are calculated based on the net excess generation captured by their bidirectional meter. The MA Smart incentives are based on the total generation captured on the generation meter. Both the value of energy and the total compensation rate are provided in the final SOQ from the Solar Program Administrator. Next, we have an example of a MA Smart market net metering bill. The arrows indicate where to locate the market net metering credit as well as the incentive payment. This customer participates in MA Smart and receives market net metering credits. And these credits are based on 60% of the net excess generation, and the customers paid MA Smart incentive payments based on total generation. Our last example is of a MA Smart qualifying facility bill. This customer participates in MA Smart and receives qualifying facility credits based on net excess generation. You will note on the bill the ISO clearing price instead of the net metering credit, indicating this is a qualifying facility. Next up, Tanisha will provide more billing information related to community solar.
Thank you, Krista. Hello, my name is Tanisha, and I'll be providing more information regarding the community solar billing. This is a copy of the community solar host billing. It's the net metering bill. The customer has 1,000 kilowatt solar system and has a cap allocation. The total delivery services is the amount of credits that can be transferred to the satellite customer for the current billing period. The transfer credits were all the amount of credits that was generated from the last month. Next slide, please. The host customer is a large, smart AOBC. Unallocated credits will roll over each month and can be transferred out 4 times per calendar year. AOBC volume based on total generation minus all charges equal in the amount eligible to transfer. total generation times total compensation rates minus value of energy equals the smart incentive payment. Next slide, please. Once you are signed up with the community solar and assigned a project share, you will begin to receive bills from both National Grid and your community solar provider. Your National Grid bill will reflect credits transferred from the community solar host for your share of the generated energy. You will essentially purchase credits from the community solar project to reduce your electric bill. You may receive a separate invoice from the community solar host energy credits applied to your utility bill. Please refer to your solar provider regarding any terms of your agreement in question with your credits. Next slide, please. Credits are applied in different ways depending on the incentive program of the host customer. Multiple transfer lines can appear on your bill if you are receiving credits from multiple hosts. I will now hand it over to the next presenter, Connor.
Hi, my name is Connor. I'm a specialist with the residential and small commercial team, handling inquiries and escalations from our customers, developers, and customer service center. So, you've just bought a house or a solar farm. What's next? Well, for our residential customers, you'll first need to take ownership of the utilities at the site. This can be accomplished by calling the customer service center. You may find this number on any National Grid bill or by visiting the National Grid US website. Once the account details have been finalized and the new account number has been generated, as the new system owner or billing customer, you'll need to submit some additional documents to ensure smooth transition before receiving your full solar benefit. These documents vary depending on the type of project, but may be submitted by following the link to the Contact Us portal. If you're not certain what documents are required, feel free to reach out via the portal, and a member of our residential or commercial team will be happy to assist. Simple projects, primarily residential facilities, require a Schedule Z and a notice of assignment. The Schedule Z officially declares the new billing customer's intent to either allocate or retain their credits, and the notice of assignment documents the property and the system attached has changed hands. If the system is leased, or if the customer is enrolled in a PPA, we require only Schedule Z, which documents a change in billing customer. If a leased system is purchased with the sale of the property, we require a Schedule Z, notice of assignment, and a letter indicating all debt obligations have been met, releasing the system to the new owner. You may notice we require signatures of both the prior owner and the new owner on the notice of assignment. If the prior owner's signature is not able to be secured, we will request a copy of the quit claim deed to be presented alongside the notice of assignment and the Schedule Z. A quit claim deed is always required as proof of ownership when the system is enrolled in MassSmart. All documentation relating to MassSmart must be transmitted and received by a secured encrypted email. Commercial transfers of ownership require similar documentation to residential with some changes. Commercial transfers require a Schedule Z or Schedule A for qualifying facilities, a post-ISA letter of assignment, a legal information form documenting the transfer of ownership, as well as an AOBC allocation sheet if the system is enrolled in MassSmart. When there is a change in management responsibility, please submit a letter of authorization which officially allows an individual or company to communicate on behalf of the site or project on all matters, including but not limited to credit allocations, transfer history reports, and billing updates. If you're unsure what documents are required for your project or system, please reach out to a member of our commercial team by submitting an inquiry using the Contact Us portal. And with that, I would like to hand things over to Dianda who will speak to credit allocations and related requests.
Thank you, Connor. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dianda, and I am a specialist specializing in subsequent commercial credit allocation requests. In order to submit a credit allocation request, please submit it through our portal. As you can see on your right-hand side are the steps of the submission process. Please ensure that the topic line that is chosen is credit allocation related, credit allocation change request, so that it falls in the appropriate queue. Although tariff directives allow for 4 times per year for allocation changes, National Grid tries to accommodate all requests not to exceed one submission per billing cycle. So if you would like to submit the next month, you can. You will be notified of any You will be notified of any ineligible satellite accounts, final load zone, etc. before the sheet is submitted for final processing. For more information on Massachusetts credit allocation requests, please visit this link that's been provided in the slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. National Grid will carry forward any unallocated credits on host or recipient accounts. If a recipient account closes before bill credits generated during a billing period are allocated to it, then the allocated percentage will remain on the host customer's account. So to your right is an example of a Schedule Z Excel spreadsheet. This is for net metering complex and MA Smart net metering. Please submit both Schedule Z form and Schedule Z Excel spreadsheets. For net metering complex and MA Smart net metering, when you include the PDF file, you will need documentation on pages 1 of 4, 2 of 4, and pages 4 of 4 must be filled out with a signature. Below is an example of an AOBC Excel spreadsheet. All that is needed is just that form if you are submitting for AOBC. Please, when submitting, make sure that no information on the Excel documents are altered besides what you're inputting, so that there are no errors on the sheet. Next slide, please. So these are some common frequently asked questions for credit allocations. Can I transfer credits using a Schedule Z if I have a qualifying facility? No. Only host accounts that are net metered facilities can transfer their credits using a Schedule Z. Can I alter the sheet? I know I mentioned before in the previous slide not to alter it, but this is very imperative because it causes issues with our automation, and they will not be able to process those changes. Can I transfer across load zones? Qualifying net metering accounts can transfer across load zones and smart alternative on-bill credit facilities as well. Can I transfer to different utility companies? Yes. National Grid now accepts transferring across different utility companies for net metering, such as Eversource and Unitil, from qualifying net metering and AOBC accounts. Non-solar accounts participating in community solar cannot allocate their excess credits. One would need to contact their community solar companies or adjust their existing agreement with them to reduce the percentage that they allocate or to add a second account to their allocation sheet. I will now hand this off to Alex, who will be discussing cash outs and one-time transfers when they are permitted. Thank you.
Thanks. And so now I'm going to talk briefly about if you are closing your electric utility account in National Grid and you'd like to apply any of your outstanding balance of bill credits to another account, you can use one of our one-time transfer forms. Please note that depending on what type of net metering host facility you are, you may have certain restrictions on where you're able to reallocate these credits to. If you're planning to just reallocate credits to one account, we have one form linked there. And if you're looking to reallocate credits to multiple electric utility accounts, you can use the one-time transfer form for multiple accounts. And I'll now move to talking about cash out and one-time transfer opportunities for eligible smart and net metering facilities. So to start with smart alternative on-bill credit facilities, these facilities will be eligible to cash out their excess credit balance earned every year according to National Grid's fiscal year, April 1st to the following March 31st. In order to be eligible for a cash out, a host customer or their authorized agent must submit a allocation sheet that totals to 100% active and valid accounts. This will be communicated upon any cash out request. Facilities that have a commercial operation date or authority to interconnect of December 31st, 2020 or earlier will receive this cash out at the discounted rate. If this facility has a commercial operation date of January 1st, 2021 or later, the cash out will be received in the full unused credit value. The host customer or authorized agent may request this cash out during the cash out period, which will be communicated by the company at the end of the fiscal year, so likely sometime April, May of 2026. Host customers or their authorized agents can also elect to reallocate these credits, aka a one-time transfer, or you can elect for a partial cash out, partial one-time transfer, or a combination of both. If there are any excess credits that are not cashed out, they'll be rolled forward on the host account at their full unused value. However, they will not be eligible for future cash outs as each cash out is discrete to each year. Recipient accounts of AOBC credits are unable to cash out or one-time transfer these excess credits. They will continue to roll forward on the recipient account until utilized. And now I'll shift to net metering, cash out, and one-time transfers. Again, this applies to the same fiscal year to credits earned from April 1st to the following March 31st. However, only CEFSOL facilities, the cap-exempt facilities serving on-site load, are cash out eligible for net metering. Again, just to review the requirements for these facilities, they are cap-exempt, serve on-site load, or are behind the meter, are not a government or municipal-owned facility, and they have an ISA dated January 1st, 2021 or later. Again, National Grid will communicate the eligible cash out balance to these facilities no later than May 15th of each year. The host customers of these facilities will have until June 1st of each year to elect for a cash out or to allow the credits to roll forward. Any cash out or rolling forward of credits will occur at the avoided cost rate. So they will be reduced prior to cash out. Recently reclassified Class 1 facilities, so 25.1 to 60 kW, are given a one-time opportunity to reallocate their excess credits that were earned January 1st, 2022 to June 1st, 2026 via a one-time transfer. However, no other net metering facilities are eligible for one-time transfers. Any excess credits will again be rolled forward on the host account at the avoided cost rate. And I'm now going to pass it off to David to talk more about interconnection support and outage notifications.
Hi, I'm David, and one of the things I'm responsible for is relaying outage information. There are essentially two different types of outages. There are planned outages, which have a set end time and are usually the result of us carrying out repairs or enhancements to the grid. When these repairs are completed, or this work is completed, we will re-energize the site automatically. In the case of emergency outages, the problem is generally on the host site, and the host will have to call us to be re-energized. It's important to note that we are using the contact information that has been provided on the application case. So if you have a change in emergency contacts, or aren't sure you have an emergency contact on your host case, you can follow the link on this slide and update it, or you can open the case with us and we will make the update. And now Mario will be discussing amongst other things, how to submit a case. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Throughout this presentation, you'll see that customers are advised to submit their inquiries and requests through our Contact Us form. Many of you are already familiar with this tool and have used it before. This slide is just to display the URL and a visual of the landing page for this contact us form for those of you who are unaware of how to navigate to it. An important note, please follow the prompts and input all the correct and accurate information, providing as much detail as possible. This will ensure that the inquiry is routed to the correct team or correct department, and the response is sent in a prompt and timely manner. So who can raise a DJ inquiry? Any party that is a stakeholder can submit an inquiry. However, any requests that relate to sharing information or changes to the system will not be honored without the proper authorization from the billing customer and or the system owner, depending on the request. We have a wide variety of requests that can be selected, ranging all the way from billing inquiries, credit allocation requests or changes, transfers of ownership, or power quality and voltage issues, all the way down to system decommissioning. We have several online tools that help our customers easily view and manage their accounts. My business account is available for our commercial customers to access all their accounts with a single login and keep track of all their allocations. Our Solar Hub is also live. This tool contains updates, links, and any information related to solar installation and billing. We will continue to evolve this website and add more information to help guide our customers with their solar projects. Physical changes to connected projects. It is important to note what action needs to be taken when there are physical changes needed to an already interconnected project. Any customers seeking to make a change like that should submit a DG inquiry via the contact us form. The inquiry will be reviewed and routed to the account manager or the team who will be able to provide guidance on the requirements on how to get this change implemented. Only non-significant changes will be managed this way. Significant changes will require a new application. So an example of a non-significant change would be changing an inverter, whether it's faulty or at the end of its warranty or life cycle. An example for a significant change would be adding batteries to a connected project. If you ever have any uncertainty of the significance of the change, please raise an inquiry to receive the correct guidance. An important point to note is that depending on the age of the project and the nature of the ask, there may be incurred costs and associated timelines with that. So in summary, please do not make any changes to connected projects without informing National Grid. Alterations that invalidate a facility's ISA may result in disconnection until approvals and compliance has been achieved. And now I'd like to hand this over to Yusuf to speak to reconciliation of interconnection costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Good morning, everyone. My name is Yusuf. I'm honored. This role I oversee and manage.
Yusuf, we're having a bit of a hard time hearing you.
Oh. Is it me now? Hey, Jay. Can you guys?
Much better, thank you.
Sorry about that. Maybe the network or something. I thank you, Mario, for passing along to me. And good morning, everyone. My name is Yusuf Ichihi, and I'm honored to be a lead financial analyst here at National Grid. In this role, I oversee and manage the financial aspects of distributed generation projects. Today, I'm looking forward to sharing with you a reconciliation process overview. So reconciliation is a financial process that happens at the end of a project life cycle, but only upon customer request. By the tariff, we are required to do a true-up once customers ask for reconciliation. This process may take up to 120 business days after we've wrapped up construction. If a project gets canceled before we start any work, we'll typically refund payments made to date by the customer, excluding application fees that are not refundable. Also, payment for group studies are not refundable unless every member of the group study decides to withdraw or interconnect. For the most accurate handling, we do loop in CI analysts and financial team from our company. So here is an overview of the final account report process of interconnecting customers. An interconnecting customer may ask for a final accounting report showing any difference between their cost responsibility for the actual cost of system modification under our agreement and their previous payments to our company for those system modifications as outlined in the interconnection system agreement or service agreement. This request can be made within 120 business days as well, after we've completed construction and installation of system modification detailed in the interconnection service agreement or impact study document. Once we receive this request from an interconnecting customer, we'll provide the requested final accounting report within 120 business days as well. So this is how actually payments and refunds are handled after the final accounting report is drafted or issued. If the interconnecting customer's cost responsibility in the interconnection service agreement is more than what we've already paid or they already paid, we'll send the customers an invoice. The customer would then need to pay us within 45 business days. On the other hand, the refund is due on if the customer has paid more than their cost responsibility according to our agreement, then a refund of the difference will be issued to them, which will be done within 45 business days as well, after we provide the final accounting report. In this slide, it's a template of the final accounting report that actually summarize our accounting and give detailed comparison of actual costs versus the payments made to date. And it's worth to mention here that it's very important that the customers let us know a valid billing address where they like us to send them invoices or refund checks. This address can be different from the site facility address if they prefer to. I mean, the ones that we have in records. So with this, my part is concluded in this presentation, and thank you all for your attention. And now I will hand it off back to Jen for closing remarks.
Thank you, Yusuf. So the last slide in our slide deck is a summary of links to information and forms discussed today for ease of access. This deck will be posted to our SharePoint meeting website along with the recording. This concludes today's presentation. Once again, we welcome any questions that you may have regarding today's content. Please submit your questions through the link provided in the meeting chat. In addition to questions, should you have requests or recommendations for future presentations, we're happy to receive and consider those as well. I want to thank all of our presenters. You guys did a fabulous job. And I want to thank all of our attendees. Have a great day, and thank you for your attention and attendance. Have a good day, everybody.